I've played tons of PC games, and in a previous episode I talked about 10 games that you should definitely play on the PC if you want to have a good time. Today I'm going to let you know about 10 more amazing games that you should check out if you want to make that time even better. Now, some of these games are older by contemporary standards, but I do suggest that you take the time to play all of the games on this list because they truly are standout titles on the computer. Let's begin. If you're looking for an awesome game that has a phenomenal storyline that you can play with your friends, then look no further than A Way Out. A Way Out is a cooperative action-adventure game that features two characters, Vincent and Leo, and you control either one of them. And to even tell you the plot would be far too much for me to comfortably say, so I'll let you experience that one on your own. What the game does right is that there are so many micro-interactions your character has. There's tons of things you can do, there's mini-games, and a split screen from a cinematic standpoint works wonders for this game. This was designed by the same folks that made It Takes Two, Hazelight Studios, and to me, they are great at making cooperative play games. I hope they make more. Labyrinthine is an interesting game. On the surface, it just looks like a horror maze game, but in application, it's shockingly fun. There is a slight plot, and it's that you are one of four folks who have been called to set up a new attraction at the town fair, but then you discover a part of the maze that's been boarded off, and then shit goes horribly wrong. You tend to forget about the plot once you get into it, because the game's design is absolutely wonderful, and if you're into maze games or even cooperative games, you're going to have a good time. You can drop glow sticks on the ground as well, so you can backtrack where you've been, and with 5 chapters each with their own unique settings and imaginative threats, it's a good game. I don't want to make games that I played in high school sound like classic rock, but this one's kind of old now, 2007. It's a puzzle platformer from Valve, and you play as Shell, or Chell, who for whatever reason is a test subject at the Aperture Science Laboratory's Computer-Aided Enrichment Center, the location responsible for developing a portal gun, and she essentially runs a gauntlet of tasks given to her by GLaDOS, who is the antagonist of the game. Apparently there's a comic that bridges the gap, but I've never read it because I haven't played Portal 2, but Portal 1 is a phenomenally fun game. The portal gun lets you shoot blue and orange portals, and you can move in between them, sprinkle in some awesome physics, and you have a quality game that really scratches your brain, but not so bad that you get stuck. This is a game you should check out if you haven't. Historically, music games have always been tremendously fun to me, and I used to play them all the time as a kid. Dance Dance Revolution was a huge part of my childhood, and I almost never got to play it because of, well, performance anxiety. DDR was one of those games where you waited until nobody was there, because the second you put a coin in, it would shout, "Dance Dance Revolution!" And then every fucking mall rat in a 10-mile radius would converge and watch you, and it was just uncomfortable to me, so I played it at home. There was another game that rose in popularity called Flash Revolution, which was the same idea as Dance Dance Revolution, except you used your little fingies instead of your feet. Now that you have that idea, Friday Night Funkin' is essentially the same as Flash, except it's a Newgrounds-based game with amazing music. If you don't want to go to the website, you can download it as well. That's what I did. I didn't know what pop-ups were going to happen on Newgrounds. It's a wild frontier. Valiant Hearts is tough for me to play. It's not tough because it's hard or even remotely difficult. It's a very easy game to play, but the subject matter hits home differently because this is a story of war, specifically the Great War in Europe. We play as a few different characters, and each of these characters we control have their own portions of a story that culminate to an entire saga that covers what it was like to serve in the military during this horrible period of European history. There's puzzles, there's exploration, there's everything you could want in a simple game that tells a powerful story. If you want your games to have meaning, and you don't particularly care for hardcore action or amazing graphics, then this is for you. A game with an equally strong emotional basis is To the Moon. It was made with RPG Maker, and while I don't particularly like RPG Maker style games, this one caught me off guard. The whole idea is that our characters belong to Sigmund Core, an obvious play on Sigmund Freud, who are able to insert themselves into people's dreams to make their dreams come true. The main person we help is a guy named Johnny Wiles, and he wants to go to the moon, but we don't know why. So because of that, we go through his entire life, every memory that they can access, to try to figure out what is causing him to want to go to the moon, and that's all I'll say about it. This is a very emotionally captivating game with simplistic controls and a story that keeps you in tune the entire length. There was never a moment where I was bored or confused. The story is that compelling. You should play this. Ever wanted to play a game that cracks a joke at every single genre out there? Well, the Hex does exactly that. The whole premise is 6 different characters from stereotypical genres in the video game world walk into a bar. Find out a murder's gonna happen that night. While it isn't a standard murder mystery, this game brings out some weird, surreal vibes that will catch you off guard. You're also going to be able to enjoy a wide variety of genres that in some cases will interconnect. This game pokes fun at every trope that I could possibly imagine as someone who's loved gaming for as long as I have, and in some ways it feels like a tribute to everything we remember about gaming. In my opinion, Outlast has been the scariest game that I have played. Yes, that probably doesn't mean anything to you, but when you've played as many janky horror games as I have, it's sometimes nice to let a little when a jump scare gets you. The ambiance alone is something that I feel many other games have not matched. In Outlast, we play as investigative journalist Miles Upshur, who is doing a little digging in a psychiatric hospital when things suddenly go horribly wrong. Now, what makes the game stand out in comparison to the other games I've played are the visuals from the perspective of the player. We use a camera recorder, and in the event that it's too dark, we use batteries, which obviously don't last forever. So there's always a sense of urgency to move so you don't get stranded in the dark. It reminds me a lot of found footage style videos, and I don't know. It makes it seem more believable to me that this could really happen in real life. There have been quite a few Outlast games, with the most recent being Outlast Trials. Little Nightmares is a 2.5D puzzle platform horror adventure game, kind of a mishmash of genres if you ask me. But if you've played the game, you know all of these genres are executed perfectly. The world of Little Nightmares consists of the worst parts of humanity, imagined and contained in a boat known as the Maw. We play as Six, a little girl in a raincoat with a horrific appetite. In the game, you'll have to solve puzzles based on the environment and use a lot of stealth to get by enemies that will kill you. And because the atmosphere is consistent, you're always on alert to make sure Six stays safe, because you're always feeling vulnerable. You never know what's going to pop out next. It's an immersive game to say the least, and I look forward to checking out not only the DLC, but the sequel as well. I'm a huge fan of space-related games, and for a while, I was on a Wing Commander kick until one of my Twitch friends, Trimmer the Wolf, suggested that I check out Freelancer, which is a game that kind of operates like a watered-down Wish.com Elite Dangerous. But because of my rules of release, I needed to play the game that came before it, Starlancer. Starlancer plays a lot like Wing Commander, probably because it was designed by the same guy who created Wing Commander, Chris Roberts. Around the time this game came out, Wing Commander Privateer was out, so graphically it's very similar to that. You play as members of the 45th Volunteer Squadron on the ANS Reliant, who are fighting back against the Coalition. Basically, the game takes place in 2160, and the Alliance, who consist of the usual good people suspects, America, France, Spain, Italy, Japan, Britain, and Germany, are going up against the Coalition. I'll give you 3 seconds to guess who they are. That's right, the Middle East, Russia, and China! All tropes of political alignment and world politics aside, this game is tremendous fun, and it is worth it to check it out, but I will say that it was very difficult to get it running on a modern computer, so it might take some time and some work to get it going. I also did a Series Slayer episode about the Lancer series. I'll make sure to link it down below. The PC is a platform of pure expression, one that hasn't changed outside of the capabilities of developers, so every day that I sit in front of the computer, it seems like another wonderful game is popping up in front of me. That's it for me today though. I hope you've had a wonderful week and encourage you to subscribe to the channel and join me on my retro gaming journey. I cover a lot of topics from consoles to video games to video game history, and I'd love to have you along for the ride. Also, if you don't mind hitting that like button, it would help with visibility. And if you're feeling particularly extroverted, you can always leave a comment down below telling the community your favorite PC games. As always, from my family to your family, good energy, good vibes. Fortifier out.